is Valley News Live at 10.
Let's get back to work.
We will not be kept out of this chamber by thugs, mobs, or threats. We will not bow to lawlessness or intimidation.
The U.S. Senate is back at work. Just before the vice president's comments, senators made their way to the Capitol to resume their electoral vote.
Besides that heavy presence of FBI agents escorting the senators, you can catch a glimpse of North Dakota's two U.S. senators, John Hoeven and Kevin Cramer.
And right now, the Senate and House continue their work. Lawmakers have resumed counting votes. This is a live look. The Senate earlier rejected an attempt to overturn Joe Biden's election win and Arizona, which presumably will lead to the electoral vote count.
Both Democrats and some Republicans have been accusing President Trump of inciting what took place today. Republican Senator Mitt Romney saying the day's events were the result of a selfish man's injured pride and outraged his supporters, whom he has deliberately misinformed for the past 2 months and stirred to action this morning.
Here are some of the other new developments tonight. The woman who was killed after shots were fired at the Capitol is a 14-year Air Force veteran. Relatives have identified her as Ashley Babbitt of San Diego. It has been reported that she was shot by someone in law enforcement while climbing into the Capitol through a broken window.
Meanwhile, at least 7 others were hospitalized, and tonight, former President Barack Obama is blaming the violence on President Trump, saying it's a great dishonor and shame for our nation. Meanwhile, the president has been locked out of his Twitter account, the social media platform demanding that he remove 3 tweets or he could be banned from the platform. It happened after the president posted a video of unfounded claims about election fraud. Facebook and YouTube also removed the video from Trump's accounts. And within the last hour, reports that members of the president's cabinet are discussing invoking the 25th Amendment to remove the president from office.
These are more images of the mobs and rioters that descended upon the Capitol this day, scaling the walls and engaging with Capitol Police for nearly 4 hours, all in an effort to stop the count of the electoral vote. As protesters approached, a message was sent out to lawmakers as rioters entered the building.
Get down under your chairs if necessary, so we have folks entering the rotunda and coming down this way. So we'll update you as soon as we can, but just be prepared. Stay calm.
And as the world watched today's developments unfold, there were many who were literally in the middle of the chaos.
Valley News Team's Courtney Lockie has the story of one group from Fargo who were shocked at what they saw.
Germany, people from Japan. We talked to 2 gals who just got out of the car 45 hours, drove from Arizona.
Kevin Flynn and his team from AM 1100 The Flag in Fargo were right in the middle of it all. The crew went and supported the president.
They were adults exercising their free speech right, exercising their right to assemble, and doing it peacefully. There wasn't one fight.
That was until the crowd moved on the Capitol, where many protesters turned rioters, storming the building, leaving people watching here in the Valley wondering what was going on.
I personally just thought it was crazy. I didn't imagine anything like this would happen. I think it's hurting us more than it's helping us.
With all the riots that went down in Minneapolis previously, I was kind of expecting something like this to come up.
I just think it's like kind of ridiculous that that's what we have to result to, kind of like people like dying for this. I just don't really think it's necessary, but it's just sad.
As for Flynn and his crew,
I think it was a great day. I mean, it was free speech, it was right to assemble, and boy, did they exercise it today. But in the same, sentence, I'm completely heartbroken over the loss of life of the young lady.
As he returns to Fargo, Flynn says he thinks the protesting is far from over. In Fargo, Courtney Lockie, Valley News Live.
And now take a look at this. We want to show you some stunning video. Shows the chaos inside the Capitol today. Rioters caught on camera as a shot is fired inside the building. pro-Trump loyalists storming the congressional branch of government, sending senators and representatives fleeing for safety. Vice President Mike Pence and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris were in the Senate chamber for the certification of the Electoral College votes. The mob shoving their way into the building, smashing glass and disrupting the counting of the ballots. Then we hear a gunshot. It's not clear who fired the shot or if anyone was hit.
Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar says she's drawing up articles of impeachment against President Trump. The Congresswoman saying that we cannot allow him to remain in office. It's a matter of preserving our republic, and we need to fulfill our oath. She tweeted earlier today, running for our lives as members of Congress is really devastating and totally shocking.
Today, during his announcement of loosening guidelines on bars and restaurants in Minnesota, we'll have more on that later in this newscast, Governor Tim Walz acknowledged what was taking place in D.C. and said it was not going unnoticed.
When our politics gets to the point where everything becomes so fractured, it's very difficult, and it's very difficult to run society that way. And so I want to acknowledge that eyes are on what's happening in D.C.
Meanwhile, Melania Trump's chief of staff submitted her resignation following today's riots at the White House. Stephanie Grisham is a former White House communications director and press secretary. She was one of the longest-serving Trump administration officials, having begun her tenure working for then-candidate Donald Trump in 2015 as a press wrangler on the campaign trail. She entered the White House as deputy press secretary under Sean Spicer, but in March 2017, Melania Trump hired her for the East Wing staff.
Now, the other big story impacting Washington, D.C. tonight, the developments out of Georgia, a historic election outcome. 2 incumbents defeated in close runoff races as voters send 2 Democrats to Washington, shifting control of the U.S. Senate. Daryl Forges reports.
I am going to the Senate to work for all of Georgia.
A late-night acceptance speech by the first victor of the night. Reverend Raphael Warnock, the senior pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, former home of Martin Luther King Jr., made history Tuesday to become the first black senator from Georgia, beating Republican incumbent Kelly Loeffler.
We were told that we couldn't win this election. But tonight, we proved that with hope, hard work, and the people by our side, anything is possible.
Control of the United States Senate at stake for these dual Senate runoff races in the burgeoning purple state pushed millions to the polls.
We believe that the total vote will probably be pushing 4.6 million. And when you think we had 5 million that just showed up in November, it's just tremendous turnout.
And with a late victory by Democrat Jon Ossoff over GOP incumbent David Perdue, incoming Vice President Kamala Harris will serve as a tie-breaking vote, essentially easing the path of the Biden administration.
This is history unfolding in Georgia right now.
In Atlanta, I'm Daryl Forges.
U.S. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer issued a statement saying it feels like a brand new day. For the first time in 6 years, Democrats will operate a majority in the United States Senate.
Coming up, state houses under siege. We'll take you around the nation where the scene at the U.S. Capitol played out in dozens of state capitals.
But first, a quick look at your forecast. Hutch has an idea of what you can expect with this next round of snow.